Hello, and welcome again to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Xavier Rodriguez with Trions, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. I have the pleasure of speaking again with Dr. Subodh Kumar, Chief Data Officer of World Vision International. For part two of this discussion, we'll be discussing modern data and analytics platforms. Thanks again for speaking with me, Subodh.
Thank you very much, Xavier. It's my pleasure.
There are a variety of platforms available in the market, each targeting a specific type of use. What platforms interest you the most right now, and why do you think the use is impactful?
One of the let me take a step back. One of the question that when I started my role, CDO was a new role. People have not heard about it in the organization. It is very different. So they asked me, okay, help us understand your role. And so if I have to summarize my role in just few words, I would say it was to create value out of data, in a way, making data as a strategic asset for World Vision. So I inherited, legacy systems. These systems were built with the, application-centric approach, not data-centric approaches. And so most of the systems and platforms that we inherited or designed are compliance mindset. As I said earlier, just report something for somebody. Somebody wants data, so you're reporting it without knowing, okay, what does it really mean to me? And so focus was more on accountability and not much on deriving value of the data. So right now, my focus is modernizing my data management and the analytics platform in World Vision. So I just completed a pilot of using AI/ML-based platform for data ingestion and transformation and applying data science tools. And this will help us move from a traditional warehouse concept to creating more lake house and building a data fabric. That's what I want to do, is to interweave our data silos together so we can tell the organization story. Right now, we don't have any way to tell our complete story. Secondly, the data analytics platform. I want to move away from platforms and tools that is so dependent on IT skills. Most of our platform and analytical tools are very dependent on IT or our vendors like CTS and others. So move towards more natural language tools that is easier for business to use. So in the same pilot that I was talking about, we also tested this new platform where we have used this AI/ML-based natural language queries, and that is becoming very promising for the business, and they may not be dependent anymore for hiring technically skilled people who knows analysis, but you can go to the platform, just write your question, and the system will throw off the information and insights for you, or even tell you, these are possible correlations that you see in your data, or these are some of the things that you can think the system tells you because of its artificial intelligence capability. And of course, when I'm talking about the emerging technology, not necessarily trending ones or the trendy ones, but the one that is appropriate for our industry, and that will help us enable and derive value out of our data and make business sense. So we were just talking about data literacy. So more and more we are using AI/ML-based natural language platform. Staff are getting excited. We don't have to wait and depend on IT anymore.
Especially with human capital being the number one focus area globally and talent being the crunch that it is, I think abstracting that as best as possible is the absolute right way to do it. And it's really so thrilling to see that you're championing this on the ground, especially on the humanitarian platforms and bringing all together. So thank you for sharing that. And while no two data and analytics platforms are identical in every way, is it very common for competing platforms to have many of the same features? What are some of the considerations you factor in when you're choosing any new data and analytics platform?
For the last few years, especially in the humanitarian industry, Power BI is becoming, more and more popular because of our dependency on Microsoft. A lot of our works are, is around Microsoft, and so Power BI help us create that platform, but you need a lot of skills in Power BI. You need to be technically savvy, and data has to be modeled in that way so that you can use it. And I'm not a very fan of Power BI as such, because right now, much of our business needs is only descriptive analysis. So yes, that is taking care of that, visualization, and most of it is limited to descriptive analysis, unless you integrate R, of course. But no one particular tool is enough to meet organizational need. However, as we are moving, I want to enhance our analytical capability to answer all our questions. What have we done? What's the problem? What can happen? Predictive analysis, and where should we invest our resources? More of predictive and prescriptive analysis. So that is what I want to use as the factor to look for platforms, data analytics platform that can help us do. It will also support building data literacy in the organization and making organization as a future proof. So those analytical platform, not only that help us to visualize things, but it enable us to do this predictive and prescriptive analysis, which is not very popular in humanitarian industry. And it's relatively new, not a lot of people have that skills on that, but that's my primary driving factor as we look for platforms.
No, totally true, Subodh. And we've talked about the variety of, DNA platforms, their use cases and considerations when choosing the right fit. But how do you measure the success of these platforms? Is it financial, user adoption, business value, combination of many factors?
It has to be a combination of many factors. Of course, the commercials, the cost definitely matters, but that's not a primary driving factor. We don't pick up the tool just because it's cost effective. But I think the key driving factor is what is the business value that we can derive out of those tools, and the adaptability with the business users. As I said, not too much heavy dependency on IT, which is what I'm trying to build. Is moving, data is more business imperative. So business people should be able to make sense of it. So that's more important. Is how what is the adaptability that the business can use it more easily, and not depending on the staff, and how can we harness value of our data. And traditionally, for all data and analytics, we have dependent on IT, but that's the culture that I'm beginning to change. And so that becomes a primary motivator, is to combination, yes, of course, economics, but also the business adaptability and the business value out of the tool.
Sure, and it's so getting more and more demanding, with the business, especially I think capability in terms of self-service and all of that, and I think enabling that is so important in quick decision making as well. So thank you for sharing that again, Subodh. And I've been speaking with Dr. Subodh Kumar, Chief Data Officer at World Vision International. Look for part 3 of this series right here on CDO Magazine, where we'll talk about data governance and quality and how to manage risk across the organization. Thank you, Subodh. Please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.